Hi, it's Greg again with Telltale Books, back again with another short story review. Actually, kind of a period review. Those of you who follow us regularly know that I've been trying to read everything by H.G. Wells in chronological order. Well, I've expanded that project to include Edgar Allan Poe, H.P. Lovecraft, and William Hope Hodgson. So, I haven't got to Hodgson yet. I've started with Edgar Allan Poe and H.P. Lovecraft. So far, the earliest works of Edgar Allan Poe aren't worth wasting a video on. But H.P. Lovecraft has some interesting work in his early career. Most of what he wrote before 1916, I believe, was poetry, exclusively poetry. He didn't write any short stories in his very earliest works. Let me double check that date. Yes, it was 1916. He wrote lots and lots of poetry. Most of it just okay. And most of it not horror or fantasy. Most of it was kind of traditional poetry. Not at all. If that's all you read of H.P. Lovecraft was his poetry before 1916, you would wonder what the fuss was about. And you would wonder why people think he's a great horror writer. Because he didn't write anything like that in those early poems. But in 1916, he wrote his very first short story. Or at least, it's the first one that still exists. If he wrote any before that, nobody knows about it. The short story was called The Alchemist. Now, Lovecraft, of course, is most famous for the Cthulhu mythos. We have reviewed a couple of stories from the mythos already, and we got another one coming up. I did those with Emily. This is not a Cthulhu mythos story. It is called The Alchemist. Published in November 1916. I have it in this Del Rey paperback, The Tomb and Other Tales. This was from the early 1980s. And The Alchemist is what prompted me to do this video. Not to talk about his early poems, because, like I say, those are just kind of dull. But The Alchemist was very interesting because while it isn't mature Lovecraft, you could already see him getting into the sorts of things that would make him famous eventually. He was The Alchemist is a very, very gothic story, kind of traditionally gothic, but hey, it was his first short story. It was youthful. He was in his youth. He hadn't published anything like that before. He was kind of new to weird fiction. So he started out doing one that was rather traditional Gothic. Had a castle, had a family secret, had mysterious goings-on, had a curse on the family where the protagonist expects he's going to die. And he finds out he's going to die because a long time ago, one of his family members, one of his ancestors, had killed an alchemist. And so the alchemist used magic to curse his whole family so that everybody dies at age 32. They don't live a day past their 32nd birthday. Very, very traditional Gothic. You can trace the roots of this all the way back to the Castle of Otranto and the mysteries of Udolpho and stories like that in the very early days of Gothic literature. But it's I think, a really good short story. Not great enough to make our all-time best stories list, but definitely a good short story. Worth checking out. If you're a Lovecraft completist, definitely should check it out. And with that, I'll let you go and read it. See you next time. Like us, subscribe, come back, tell your friends, share, all that stuff. We want to see you back, and we want to hear what you think. What's your favorite Lovecraft story? Put that in our comments. Till next time, bye.